The Rockets could become the best young team in the league because of this offseason. It all depends on what happens May 17th and June 23rd. That first date is where they're going to pick in the draft, and the second date is them nailing the pick. The good news is there is one guy in the draft who the Rockets should obviously take. He would pair perfect with Jalen Green, who became a beast the last few months. Not only did Jalen throw down this sick dunk against the Kings, but since February, he went off. He dropped 6 more points a night while becoming insanely efficient. The only other rookie with 5 straight 30-point games was Allen Iverson the last 50 years. So yeah, they have to figure out what to do with John Wall, what they can get trading Eric Gordon, but it is really about who they're going to pair with Jalen Green in the draft. First, let's talk about their offseason basics. Cap space. They have no money or $20 million if they have a John Wall buyout. The exceptions are the full $10.3 million mid-level and the $4 million biannual. Their needs, really everything except for starting shooting guard. Their draft picks, well, they've got their own pick, and it's a 14% chance at number 1. They also have the Nets first. Relevant free agents, really it's just Dennis Schroeder. And this year, I am going to include where they were expected to perform preseason, but versus what they actually did. And their projection was 27.5 wins. They only won 20. Before we get to the draft, what to do with John Wall? The second highest paid player in basketball, almost tied with Steph Curry. But don't know if you know this, John Wall didn't even play. They actually have 3 options of what they could do with John Wall, but let's rank them. The number 1 option is to trade him. The number 2 option is to work a buyout, save a little money. And number 3 is they can actually just let him play out the season, maybe actually play on the court a little bit and be a free agent. But let's start with the trade. The only thing that makes sense is John Wall for Russell Westbrook, if LA includes a pick. The other option is giving somebody like OKC a pick to take Wall's contract, but that actually doesn't make sense for Houston. They're not trying to win now. Last season, the Lakers refused to give up their 2027 first, but Mark Stein reported they are going to revisit the trade. I think Houston could at least get a valuable second-round pick. If that doesn't happen, I do expect a buyout. John Wall has made a ton of money, and does he really want to not sit again healthy like late in his prime? Maybe he's willing to give a little cash back to play on another team, and maybe it's a return to the Washington Wizards. Next up, trades. And there are 2 players that Houston should absolutely deal: Christian Wood and Eric Gordon. Both guys had above average seasons, and they are not on the Rockets timeline. They're both expiring contracts, so they'll be easy to trade. Gordon and Wood leave if the Sixers can get both of them, and the Rockets get Tobias Harris, the Sixers 2023 first. The Sixers are wanting to get out of Toby's bad money. They send a first rounder to get it done. The Rockets can also flip Harris next year when he's expiring for yet another first round pick. Philly gets 2 good shooters to surround James Harden and Joel Embiid. Or the Rockets get Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green, and the Mavericks get Eric Gordon. This would have seemed really silly last year, but Hardaway has turned into an awful contract. 39% from the field and 33% from deep before he had foot surgery. Adding Gordon to the Mavs gets off 2 years of Hardaway's bad contract for an excellent 3-point shooter and secondary playmaker. But for their trouble, the Rockets get Josh Green, who is a 21-year-old who has been awesome off the bench for Dallas. Another trade idea, the Rockets get Evan Fournier and Cam Reddish. The Knicks get Christian Wood and David Nwaba. New York gets a really good offensive center. Christian Wood is one of just 14 players who averaged 15 points, 10 boards this year. And after the All-Star break, about 20 points and 10 boards a game, 58% from the field, and 46% from 3. With Fournier's awful contract off the books, the Knicks can hunt for a max player soon. The Rockets take on that bad money for Cam Reddish, who I think has yet to tap into his potential. Now, before we get to the all-important draft decisions, we have to mention the extensions for the Rockets. 2 guys should be the priority: Kevin Porter Jr. and Jae'Sean Tate. KPJ is not perfect, but he is a good enough point guard next to Jalen Green. He can get a max of 4 years, $51 million this offseason. You might not know Jae'Sean Tate, but he is every Rockets fan's favorite player, undrafted, an underdog badass, guards the other team's best player every night, and is super consistent. Houston has two options. They can wait to extend him, but another team could swoop in restricted free agency so it could get expensive, or pay him now. Finally, let's get to the draft for the Rockets. Really what Rockets fans have been dreaming about ever since the start of the season. Will they get the number 1 pick? Actually, this is what their chances look like. They have a 14% chance of getting number 1, a 52.1% chance of top 4. Those are the best odds possible, but damn, if I'm a Rockets fan, I am nervous. It's basically a coin flip. We pick outside the top 4. That is rough. So May 17th is crucial. That is when the ping pong balls bounce to see who picks where. The Rockets have had 5 number 1 picks in franchise history. Those were Elvin Hayes, John Lucas, Ralph Sampson, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Yao Ming. 4 of 5 were Hall of Famers. So Houston has a good track record of picking number 1. And if that happens again, I am going all in on Chet Holmgren. The Rockets must draft Chet for 2 reasons. First, defense. He is an elite rim protector who shoots 40% from 3. Chet is a defensive prospect like Evan Mobley and Anthony Davis. That is super rare. The best players in the game right now are two-way bigs. Giannis, Jokic, Embiid. He even looks like a young Giannis. Okay, I don't actually expect a Giannis-type body transformation, but the Rockets are horrible defensively. I mean, if they think that rolling with Alperen Şengün and Jalen Green is a good idea, they have to surround them with defensive talent, and nobody in this draft compares to Chet. The second reason to draft him is star potential. There is not a superstar in this draft, but at least Chet offers something you can't coach. Size and length. A legit 7-footer with a 7'6" wingspan. People were worried about Evan Mobley's body last year, but he could easily be Rookie of the Year. Bigs this talented on D with range are impossible to find. And between him and Jabari Smith, Chet fits better. He's not going to lead the team in scoring, but that's Jalen Green's job. That's fine. Now, with their second first-round pick, Rockets fans will be rooting against the Nets in the playoffs, but I do know that this is a weak draft, but this front office has identified talent later in the draft, like Alperen Şengün at 16th overall last year. If they nail both of these picks, the future could be amazing in Houston. And we could talk about free agents for the Rockets, but I think we'll save those for other teams, because this isn't about free agency. This is about the draft and trading Christian Wood and Eric Gordon so they can free up more playing time for the young guys. And don't get it twisted. I think the Rockets are going to lose a ton again next season, but at least they could be building something special. And speaking about how far the Nets will get in the playoffs, I put together a whole video about how I think the East playoffs will shake out. Because, I mean, the West, I'm not going to say it's boring, but like clearly the Suns are the favorites. But in the East, I mean, we have at least 5 teams who have a legit shot to make the Eastern Conference Finals. So check this video out, how far I think all the teams can get.